Mr. Parker, the orphan keeper, was walking around the dining room. All the kids called him Mr. Angry Bubble because when he got angry, he blew out his cheeks and they looked huge and round. He got mad pretty often, especially at me.
Laura Garcia, come out, you brat. I know you're here.
I got out of my hiding place after he finally left. Hi, I'm Laura, the brat he was looking for. I'm 14, but I don't look a day over 10. Despite my size, I'm quite a troublemaker. Thanks to my height, I could hide in tiny places like that saucepan. Hit that like button and I'll explain what I was up to. I grew up in an orphanage and didn't know anything about my parents. However, that didn't bother me. After all, the other kids at the orphanage were my family. I was sort of their leader. The teachers and the head of the orphanage couldn't stand me because I was always doing all sorts of things to help those in need and make my friends happy. For example, one day, I stole some stupid painting from Mr. Parker's office and exchanged it for ice cream for all the kids. Come on, guys, eat it before it melts. They called me a troublemaker with a heart of gold. I was also friends with a group of traveling musicians from my homeland, Argentina. Whenever they needed a place to spend the night, I would sneak them into the orphanage. Of course, my teachers weren't happy about that. One day, I got some food from the dining hall and wanted to give it to a family I was friends with. They were good people, but rarely had enough money to buy sweets for their children. However, Mr. Parker caught me, and I had to hide in a saucepan. As soon as he left, I took my backpack, climbed out the window, and headed to the Rogers. Their kids hugged me, overjoyed. It's Laura! She brought us something delicious! Help yourself, cowboy! Their mother sighed sadly and said that taking food that was meant for orphans didn't sit right with her. Don't even worry about it. Our keeper would have stolen it anyway. He's a crook. He sells the property of the orphanage to buy himself expensive clothes and dumb paintings. Mrs. Rogers made some awesome pasta for everyone. Yummy! If you open a diner, you'd be millionaires.
Thank you, Laura. You have a heart of gold.
When I came back to the orphanage, I was scolded once again. I was used to it, but the other kids that covered for me got punished as well. That made my blood boil. So I composed a cheeky song about Mr. Parker to get back at him and sang it on camera. By the way, I had a beautiful voice. What do you think? The angry bubble orphan keeper, I've never met anyone cheaper. He's mean and vile and did us wrong. If you agree, then sing along. My friends and I uploaded that video to YouTube, and it blew up. Everyone started talking about our orphanage and turned on Mr. Parker. He hushed up the scandal, but only just. Meanwhile, I was in for a world of trouble. Ever since then, the grown-ups did everything to make my life unbearable. They punished me every day, made me wash the other kids' dishes, and cleaned up after everyone. I quickly got tired of it and realized I wasn't going to get off easy this time. So I decided to run away. But you have nowhere to go. I'd rather live on the street with wandering musicians than put up with this any longer. I was saying goodbye to my friends when someone burst into the room, surrounded by bodyguards. Wow, it was a popular singer, Samantha. Where is she? Where is that little miracle? Then she saw me and threw her arms around me. Careful, you're covered in glitter. Were you looking for me? It turned out that she had seen my viral video and liked the way I looked and sang. That's why that diva decided to adopt me. Your life's about to change, baby. All my friends were jealous of me. The teachers cried tears of joy when they found out I was leaving. I wasn't sure Samantha was fit to be a parent, but agreed to be adopted by her to get out of the orphanage. I moved into a luxurious mansion. It was so huge that I had to move around it on a scooter. Living there was fun. I had my own room, and there were enough snacks to fill the pool. What I didn't like, though, was that my new mom bought us identical clothes. I hated rhinestones and dresses. You look wonderful. It's like we're sisters. We really did look a lot alike. Our hair, eyes, smiles. However, that's where the similarities ended. Samantha turned out to be incredibly arrogant. She turned the lives of the maids into a living hell and went ballistic at the slightest provocation. I asked for water with 2 ice cubes. Why are there 3 of them in my glass then, huh? Bring me a new one. Yeah, the wealth and fame clearly went to her head. Samantha treated me like a lapdog. She dragged me to parties, photo shoots, and interviews, and bragged about me like I was an expensive gadget. People kept pinching my cheeks and saying how similar we looked.
Laura is the cutest.
Easy, lady. I'm not a plush toy.
Laura, mind your tongue. You are no longer an orphan in rags. Don't forget about your new status.
All she cared about was her freaking status. I didn't want to be a part of her glamorous world, but I didn't have much choice. One day, my adoptive mom dragged me to a recording studio and introduced me to her producer, Max. I impressed him too. Samantha, the adoption was a great idea. Your ratings have skyrocketed thanks to the kid. Try not to get into trouble again, though. It turned out she was constantly embroiled in all sorts of scandals. She disrupted concerts, shouted at the paparazzi, and asked for crazy fees. Her career suffered from it all, but Samantha didn't care. Despite it all, my new life had its advantages. For example, I now had more opportunities to help my friends. I brought my mom's old clothes to the orphanage. Jewelry and money were scattered all around the mansion. Samantha wasn't keeping watch over them, so I gave them to the Rogers and my musician friends. One day, Samantha went too far. Max brought us to a music award ceremony, but she refused to get out of the limo until the carpet was covered in gold sequins. Samantha, you're ruining your career. You are losing popularity as it is. This isn't the time to throw a tantrum. Your fans are waiting. She pouted and started to whine. I don't care about my fans. I'm a star. They will wait for me in the rain all night if I want them to. Oops. Unfortunately for her, at that moment, the limo door was opened by the driver and her fans heard her words. They didn't like the way Samantha spoke about them and she was booed. The next day, she left for yet another photo shoot and I stayed in the mansion. I didn't like being alone among all that luxury, so I decided to throw a party for my friends. I invited the kids from the orphanage, the musicians, and Mrs. Rogers with her children over. We ate pizzas and watched a movie. Everyone was having fun, and then Mrs. Rogers handed me a sweater that she had knitted herself.
Let it warm your brave heart. You have no idea how much you helped us.
She told me she'd use the jewelry I'd given her to open a small but cozy diner. Now, there was a chance they'd escape from poverty. Everyone hugged me and thanked me for the evening. I was so happy that I almost burst into tears. But then, the evil queen returned to her castle. Oops.
What is this trash doing in my mansion?
Samantha screeched like she had been bitten by wild bees. I tried to tell her that everything was fine. I just felt sad and called some friends over.
I'll have to spray the house with pesticides now. I forbid you from talking to them again.
Samantha stomped her foot and ordered the guards to throw my guests out. And then she snatched the sweater out of my hands and told me to flush it down the toilet. What had gotten into her? It pissed me off and we had our first serious fight. You're insufferable. Being a star doesn't give you the right to treat people like that.
I've never met anyone as ungrateful as you. I gave you everything, but you're still keeping company with those beggars in rags.
I was furious with her and ran to my room, but not before knocking all her awards off the shelf. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to go back to the orphanage, but I couldn't put up with any more of Samantha's antics either. It wasn't in my nature. So, I decided to go back to my original plan, to run away and become a street musician. I was throwing things into my backpack when I suddenly heard Samantha crying in the hallway. At first, it made me smile. What, did the drama queen break a nail or something? But soon, she started to sob louder. I couldn't stand it any longer and decided to find out what happened. As I left the room, I saw Samantha sitting on the floor and scrolling through her phone in tears. It turned out that her behavior at that music award caused a real scandal. Her fans were enraged by the behavior of their idol and boycotted her. Samantha's concerts were canceled and she lost contracts with her sponsors. Well, that was just karma. Oh, Laura, I'm sorry I was so harsh. I'm so upset. Max said he was tired of my behavior and wouldn't work with me anymore. I'm so miserable. Of course, she had it coming. But for some reason, I felt sorry for her. I decided to stay with her while she was going through such a rough time. Well, you know me. I was always trying to help everyone. Samantha had to fire all the staff since she wasn't earning any money. It turned out she was completely helpless. She couldn't even make coffee or her bed without my help. I had to teach her everything. I don't get it. I tried to make scrambled eggs, but it doesn't look right. Oh, you should have broken the eggs before putting them on the frying pan. Why is everything so complicated? She was more helpless than a baby. Samantha sold her designer clothes and jewelry to pay the bills. However, we soon ran out of money anyway. Her career kept going down at the speed of an avalanche. Her haters did not let up, and soon enough, there was no trace of Samantha's fame or fortune left. But the worst thing was that we soon lost our home and ended up on the street. See that puddle? Do you think it rained here? Nope, those are Samantha's tears. She wasn't handling the changes well.
I've lost everything. What are we supposed to do now?
First of all, quit crying before I go deaf. Cheer up, there's always hope. She calmed down and said she had an idea. And then she dragged me to the house of her former maid and demanded she let us stay at her place.
Of course, the woman was stunned by Samantha's nerve and told us to go away. My adoptive mom was genuinely confused. Seriously? When was the last time you were kind to anyone? Why would they help you? It soon got dark. We still had nowhere to spend the night. I called my friends from the orphanage, and they agreed to distract the guard so that Samantha and I could sneak inside. We settled down on an air mattress in the common room, and my friends brought us some food. At first, the former star kept whining. I want a suite with a jacuzzi and a salmon steak. But then, she saw the terrible conditions the children lived in. The Ice Queen realized they shared the little they had with us, and her heart melted. Guys, I'm sorry I called you trash. You are angels! That night, neither of us could fall asleep and had a heart-to-heart for the first time. Samantha said that she grew up in poverty. As soon as she achieved success, the money went to her head. I'm so ashamed of the way I acted. How could I be so arrogant and mean? Then she asked me why the conditions at the orphanage were so bad. I told her that its keeper was a crook, and everyone knew that he was stealing the money allocated to the kids he was supposed to take care of for. What a dung beetle. He should be in prison. We chatted until dawn and fell asleep hugging each other. Samantha was pretty cute now that she wasn't acting like a diva. The next morning, we decided that she needed to find a job. Luckily, I knew that Mrs. Rogers was looking for a dishwasher. She hired Samantha on the spot and let us stay over for a while. Whenever I had free time, I performed on the street with my musician friends. Some of the passerbys gave us change. Soon, Samantha and I managed to save up some money and rent a small apartment. All our friends were invited to the housewarming party. My adoptive mom even baked a pie. To be honest, it looked like a boulder. But she tried really hard. I'm sorry I was so rude to you. You are all wonderful people. Laura, you're a lifesaver. I love you. I love you too, Mom. She looked really touched as she hugged me. Having lost all our wealth, we gained something more valuable, a real family. Now, we lived modestly, but we're happy. I loved singing and seemed to be pretty great at it. More and more passersby stopped to listen to me. And one day, I saw a familiar face in the crowd. It was Max, Mom's former producer. He recognized me too. Laura, I didn't know you could sing. I'm glad to see you. How is Samantha? I told him about everything we had to go through after Mom had lost her fame and proudly said that she had changed and was no longer arrogant. Max was glad that the two of us became a real family. To my surprise, he invited me to his studio. You could become a real star. I could help you succeed. It would have been foolish to turn down such an offer. Of course I agreed. Soon, I recorded my first album with my musician friends. It became a hit and brought us fame. I got fans and became rich. Samantha and I bought a nice house. However, fame didn't go to my head. I stayed humble and kept helping my friends. One day, I asked my mom if she wanted to perform again, but she said no. I've been thinking about it, and I want to do something that really matters now. It turned out that she had been gathering documents and signatures to get Mr. Parker fired. Thanks to her, Mr. Angry Bubbles was going to prison. My mom became the new head of the orphanage. I was so proud of her. She had done a lot for those kids, and they loved her. We switched places. Now, I was a star, and my mom was doing charity work. But what mattered was, we got along. On weekends, we all came to Mrs. Rogers' diner. Help yourself to the pasta. Samantha said she also brought something delicious and put a plate of charred pizza on the table. Yeah, Mom's cooking hadn't got any better. I loved her anyway. What was the last kind thing you did? Tell us in the comments down below.